take it. Got it! Boston wins! Two legends in basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast.
NBA, some college, a little bit of everything.
You know, what can I say? But it wasn't going to happen here with him. I was okay with it. Because
Time for the Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tanguay along for the ride pod. Brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner, CLNS Media. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks. Okay, last night on the text chain, I said after one quarter this game was over. Bob Ryan, the veteran, told me to relax. It's not even close. And it went right down to the wire. Bob, they made it difficult on themselves.
It's part of their. Apparently, it's an irreplaceable part of their DNA. The important thing is that the two times in which they have dissipated leads in this series, at the right moment, they've made the right plays. They made the right plays and got it done. I'll live with that. I don't like. I wasn't happy. That, you know what drives me crazy in these comebacks? It's the sloppy turnovers. They seem to get mental lapses there, and you know, it's the NBA. The three, they're not the only team that's ever lost a 20-point lead in the history of this league, or even this year. I guarantee you that it's not. But I just don't like the way that they suddenly just get careless in that regard. That's all. And I know Jeff felt they were stagnant on offense. They were, but carelessness is to drive me crazy. But the big thing is they made the big plays, and God love that backcourt. I am just getting more and more enamored of those two guys and how fortunate they are to have them together. One of them would be, I keep saying, would be fair. To have both of them, it's like it's almost unfair.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it was all about Tatum in the first half. When he came out, he had 20, and then all about Jaylen Brown in the second half. And
Jaylen
again,
Brown.
I can't say enough about Jaylen Brown. I tweeted this last night. He doesn't look like the same player that we saw last year in the playoffs. It's like a completely different player that we're watching, from the fact that, you know, his handle's much better. His confidence in his game is much better. And he actually, again, what do you have, 8 assists last night? Like, and they were good assists. He actually passed the ball to Tatum, which again, here's the thing. Everybody's like, well, they've learned how to play with one another now. And they have. They've gotten a lot better in terms of moving the ball, passing it to one another, playing off one another. But as much as anything, too, it was the addition of Derek White and Jrue Holiday that helped them play well together. They're just connectors that Tatum and Jaylen have matured. Part of the reason is because you've added White and Holiday off the court and on the court. They just, like you said, Bob, like you just watch Derek White and you're like, all right, he didn't put up great numbers last night. But don't look at the box score. It is not about the box score when you look at Derek White and Jrue Holiday and their impact in the game.
How about White's defense on Irving, making Irving go left? Not that he doesn't go left very well, but he'd rather go right, and making him take shots he did not want to take when he started that move. Twice, very important ones. And that's just, you cannot take this stuff for granted. And it should not. People should not take this stuff for granted. You're right. You always think of offense, but boy, it's that defense was crucial too.
And they won without Porzingis. And who's Tillman?
Yeah, well, Tillman was you know what? That was another Brad Stevens, that pat in the back. We're on it here. He picked this guy up. He saw this guy. It was this guy as opposed to who knows how many other guys of that in that category in the NBA were available at that time. And he picked this one. And he made a few contributions during the season, too. Yeah. And he's one of the reasons why I say they're not only the best 1 to 5, best 1 to 8, they're the best 1 to 10 in the league. They may be one of the best 11 because Kornet is not a stiff. He just doesn't fit in this game. If they were playing somebody else, you'd be using Kornet.
You know what you have to? You know what you have on the bench? Guys that completely know their role, accept their role, and are great energy givers, too. You don't always have that. You don't always have that. You can have some malcontents on the bench that think they should be getting more. Now, it's hard for anybody to think they'd get more. But even like a Malcolm Brogdon, right? If Malcolm Brogdon is your sixth man, you don't know what he's thinking up there. These guys, it's clearly defined, and you can tell on the bench they're having fun. They're having fun. Even Tatum, when he was on the bench, with that Jaylen Brown slam last night.
That reaction was
Yes.
priceless. It was great.
Yes.
By the way, speaking of which, I'm glad you made the bench. I was going to get into this with the in the midst of all the what was the final score? I don't even know what the final score was, but however many points were scored, 200 plus points, total. Of course, all right, fine. You often find key baskets that aren't in the fourth quarter, they aren't in the third quarter, but they are key in the moment that help either stifle some team's momentum or help team gather its momentum and just set them on the way. Sam Hauser's 2 threes should have been cited in every account of this game as maybe the 2 most important buckets of the whole certainly in the first half. Those 2 threes at that time were welcome because A, they were what they were, but B, it was him and telling us that you know he'd come back. He's been sooner or later his shots are going to fall, but those 2 baskets were key. I'm telling you, I want to cite that.
Jeff, do you think Tatum answered the critics?
Yeah, I do. I mean, again, it's about winning. It's about winning. And yeah, he wasn't good in the second half offensively. He kind of reverted back to how he'd been a lot of the series, missing threes, missing bunnies around the rim. But he did enough to help him get that lead in the first half. And again, just plays the right way for the most part, right? Like, again, he's not taking too many. There are a few threes that I think he would like to have back. Like there are a couple contested threes that you don't need to take, but he was on his game in the first half. So, but like to me, I'm telling you, the assists that went from Tatum to Brown and vice versa last night were more than I've seen maybe in any game that I've watched. There were a bunch. And that just shows again their maturity. And again, we got to get to it. I hope you have this on the docket to talk about, Gary. We got to talk at some point about Luka's whining and crying and blaming and not being accountable. It's honestly.
Well, yes, it is on my docket. So we can move there. So the Celtics, to wrap up the Celtics, I just want to say they've been exemplary. They've answered all critics in every facet of the game. No one can complain about the Boston Celtics in any arena. Yes, they gave up the 21-point lead, but it's almost like the mentality now of the NBA player today that, they're going to make a run. Okay, yes, we wish they hadn't done that, but they stepped on their throat and they won the game. So we'll move on from the Celtics, and when they win,
I got to say,
go ahead, one more.
I got to say two things quickly. One, in terms of the lead thing, it's always I think people should focus on how they got the lead to remind themselves of how good they are and can be.
I know.
More than worrying about the leads dissipating in a league where leads do dissipate for various reasons. And they did stem the bleeding when it mattered. A. B. I'm asking rhetorically, perhaps, is there any other franchise in which a guy as good as Jason Tatum would have to listen to the crap because he's being compared to somebody else that retired 31 years ago? In other words, people are unfairly comparing him to Bird. He's not Bird, all right? Okay, I'll say it categorically. No, but he's Jason Tatum, and he's damn good, and he's broadened his game in a way that we wanted him to, and he is what he is. And stop worrying about whether he's as good as Bird. That's not the point. And I have to point out, I did point out that Larry had 3 terrible shooting performances in the middle of this 81 finals, but he also did exactly what Tatum was doing when he wasn't going well in the series, which is grabbing rebounds and handing the ball out in assists and playing good defense. So stop damning him because he's not Larry Bird, okay? He's not. He's Jason Tatum, and we're lucky to have him.
Well said. Now, I want to go to what Jeff is talking about, because what I've seen, Jeff, and now it's making me think that if Luka is the best player in this game, he's out of shape.
He's hurt. Too. He's hurt.
Okay, maybe fair. Go ahead. Your points on Luka.
My point, I'm watching Jason Tatum and I'm watching Luka, and 2 things stand out. Jason Tatum's defense has gotten much, much, much better over the years. And Luka's, I thought, started to, and then he regressed. And again, listen, Missoula is smart. Go after him. You can't hide. Again, you're a little banged up, but you're not a good defender anyway. You got to get in better shape, like you're saying. You got to get in better shape. Offensively, the dude can do whatever he wants. He can do whatever he wants. Nobody can stop him. But defensively is where you become a liability. Kyrie was like that for a long time. He got better this year. The other part is I'm watching Tatum this series, and I'm saying, and Tatum has a propensity to whine to the officials. He does. We know that. We've been talking about it for years on this spot. How many times has he whined this series? Never.
A few times he's put his hands up.
Yeah, not much.
But not that.
Minimal.
To me, it's league-wide.
Yes. No, Jason Tatum's been no worse than the average superstar
LeBron,
in this series.
Go down the line.
Right.
They all, LeBron, Draymond, I don't know about Steph. I don't know. I haven't noticed it. Go down the line. They all bitch.
But the problem is, okay, Luka does it at the highest, and I remember I've talked to Tatum about this at length when he was younger, and saying, if you do this over and over and over, the refs are not going to give you those close calls. And that's where I think they are with Luka. I think obviously everybody respects his ability. How can you not? I mean, at the highest level offensively, what he can do to make people better and score in a way that nobody else does right now in the league. But again, if you whine, complain after every single call, like there was one call last night, one foul that he committed that he actually didn't complain about. Every other call, every other one, the dude complains. Enough. Grow up.
No. He's been hearing this incessantly, but it doesn't seem to register.
PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It is the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats for a shot to win up 100 times your cash. With PrizePicks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a PrizePicks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. Now, if you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has got you covered every week, from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays, which increases your chance of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. The finals mean more on PrizePicks, and so do the star players. You get boosted playoffs on selected basketball stars that you won't find anywhere else. Now, this week on PrizePicks, I'm looking at Jason Tatum, more than 26.5 points. Jaylen Brown, more than 3 threes, which may be aggressive, but I'm running with that. Download that app today and use a code CLNS for a deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Bob, should they have fouled him out? Should the refs have said, wait a minute, this is a star, I got to keep him in the game?
Well, he lost the battle in the end, though, and he didn't get stayed in the game. No, I agree with everything Jeff said. It's so self-evident that it's detrimental, and it's really, I don't know who can get to him. You wonder. I mean, it's certainly Jason Kidd certainly must recognize this as well as anybody on earth, and he can't.
Carlisle couldn't, right? Carlisle couldn't. He hasn't been able to
change him. I mean,
now's the time, though. I actually think losing this way and everybody coming out, and it's Brian Windhorst absolutely crushed him last night with Scott Van Pelt. Other people will certainly pile on. That is something that he's going to hear a lot about this offseason. So I think if he's smart, he looks in the mirror and tries to change, because, again, he's been enabled, and rightfully so in some regards. But again, it's like, at some point, you got to look at your defense. You got to look at the fact that, why am I not getting these calls? Because again, he's such a likable dude off the court. You hear him talk, he's so much fun to watch. It's just, you got to grow up at some point. I think Tatum grew up this year. I do. I think Tatum, there's clearly a difference. Now, again, does he throw his arms up at times? Yes, but not nearly as much. He's gotten better with the officials.
You know something, guys? I think it is also the position, and Jeff, I'll ask you to go in on this first. I think it's the position when you have a guy like Luka who's playing a point guard. He's playing that position offensively, so defensively he's going to be out there, and he just doesn't have the feet. Now, the foul that he fouled, with the blocking foul at the end, which I believe is the one he fouled out on.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I looked at that and I said, is there any way that they could have made that a charge to keep him in the game? You know, I'm thinking TV ratings, keep the stuff. And I'm like, maybe, but he's moving his feet. He doesn't have position, you know, and good for Brown. He exploited it. I mean, and that's the risk you take by having a big man play on the perimeter.
And that's a brutal matchup for Luka, like Jaylen Brown. That's a brutal matchup because you've got one of the most athletic dudes in the entire league against, you know, let's face it, an average athlete in Luka in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, listen, it'll be interesting to see how he comes out in game 4. First of all, I want to see that, right? I want to see if this Dallas team comes out with some real fight. Like Kyrie was really good. I mean, he was really good for the most part, keeping him in the game and 20 points at the break. Like Kyrie showed up, at least in this one. And will they show up? What they didn't have, again, and this is the differentiator. Their top 2 can go up against Tatum and Brown any day of the week. The problem is they got nothing out of anybody else until the end when P.J. Washington came alive. Nothing. Derek Jones, Tim Hardaway Jr. doesn't do anything. He was their 3rd leading scorer in the regular season. That is the difference with this Boston Celtics team from every other team right now in the NBA. Isn't their stars. It's their 3rd, 4th, even their bench.
And we were talking earlier, and they trust each other. They trust each other, and it's completely across the board now. Now that Tatum and Brown, you know, have evolved into what they've evolved. We know the guards get it, but they trust each other. And of course, throw Al in there, and of course, when Porzingis was in there, throw him in there. They all trust each other. It's a dream scenario. And when it's all said and done, and they got it, something that had never really occurred to me during the season, you know, at all, which is we're going to have a healthy discussion as to where they rank in the all-time Celtic teams. And that's something that I wasn't willing to entertain until this week. I'm serious.
You know,
I don't care how many. I don't care if
Bob, I thought about it last night. I totally thought about it last night.
Well, I've been resisting it, you know, out of caution more. That's, you know,
yeah, we'll get into it. We'll get into it once the series is over because we're going to need stuff to talk about.
Yeah,
you know. But the one thing I could say about this team, Bob, is that what I've finally become accustomed to, with possibly one game left to go, is there are going to be times during a game that they just look awful. But it just happens. Like when they blew the 21-point lead, I'm like, did they just what just happened, Bob? Like
I know it didn't take long.
They just quit. They just stop. It's like they just stop. And then they go, oh, okay. All right. Sorry. Boom, 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 boom. Win. You know, it's just in their DNA.
Yeah, apparently it's going to be part of the time. Well, let's enjoy it. And people should enjoy it.
Game Time makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the tip-off. Like right now, I was looking on the app, and it's really easy to use. Just download the app. Lots of pictures for us sports fans. Lots of pictures. And, you know, the tickets for Celtics Game 1 and whoever they play, between $600-$700. But the closer you get to actual tip time, it's going to go down. So you and your friends may do a last-minute thing. And I know it's a lot of money, but maybe it's 2-3 of your friends. Last-minute trip, boom, let's go. Let's see what the tickets are on Game Time. You never know. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. Last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. Okay, here's the deal. Last-minute deals save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Now, the flash deal is save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. Save even more when you choose a section for the zone deals. You choose a section, let Game Time choose the seats. Sounds pretty good to me. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
And
So do you want you want it to go 5 so they win at home, or do we want to sweep?
no,
Like, what do you want?
I want them to do, if they're going to do this, let's make their history be the first Celtic team to sweep since 1959 and one of the very few sweeps ever in the finals. Period.
Yeah.
I can only think of 2 off the top of my head because the other off the top right now, 75 and the Lakers. I mean, the Pistons swept the Lakers. Oh, 83 was one. Okay, set with the Sixers, right? In both cases, the Lakers were absolutely injury-ridden in both cases. There's no way if they had had their people, they would have been swept in either one of those.
It'd be the 10th team, Bob. The 10th team. Warriors, Cavs in 18.
Yeah.
Spurs, Cavs in 7. Lakers,
I'm
Nets.
fuzzy. I'm good on ancient history. I'm fuzzy on more recent history, and that's true in all sports, particularly in baseball too. So, okay, but we the first Celtic team since 1959 when they swept a Lakers team that didn't even have a 500 record.
Yeah,
and
it's the only one.
Yeah, and it's the last
team.
9 championships have been 6 or 7, and I think that streak will surely be broken. That's for sure.
So,
Okay.
guys, do we have anything else to say about this team right now before we move on to Jerry West?
No.
I think we've said it all. And one of the things I've enjoyed about sports radio listening is that these poor guys have nothing to complain about. And it's killing them.
Well,
they can
complain about the 21 point,
I guess.
Splendor.
But I mean, the other day I was listening to my guys and they were complaining about Joe Mazzulla saying that how he praised Pritchard's shot. I said, this is all you have to complain about, fellas. This is it. God, I don't miss that world at all.
Hey, before we
go ahead,
Jerry West, I want to take an opportunity to offer my condolences to the family of the late Guy Manella, and who was truly a pioneer in Boston sports talk radio.
Started it all.
Calling all sports in 1969, folks, and was a major presence in Boston sports, media, broadcast lore and then he went on to, he was a fascinating guy. You got to read the Chad Finn story in the Globe. I don't know what the Herald's done, but about the post broadcast life. And I knew he had something to do with solar heating, but there's a lot more. The man was a very complex and bright person, but I knew him, got to know him because he also did Celtic games, and for a while there, and got to know him, and it was a very interesting guy. But that Calling All Sports was a must listen every night. Of course, that's when WBZ was a Colossus then, and they were. So he occupies a significant spot in the history of Boston sports broadcasting. So my condolences to the Manila family.
And now there's 2 all sports radio stations. We've gone from one talk show.
We went from one show.
One show.
And of course, there were, the Sports Scope guys up on the end of the dial at 1600, Eli Schleifer and Teddy Sullivan and George Bent, which I there for a while. But the one show, and they did once a week. Guy Manila was 4 nights a week. I forget why he didn't do Friday. They did Monday through Thursday. And of course, long ago, though, the voice of sports, you guys are both probably too young to remember that, but on WHWH on Saturday night, WHDH, 850 on Saturday nights. And that was, but Guy Manila. So, we're sorry to hear about Guy.
A pioneer. Everybody remembers that special card when you were a kid, right? I mean, for me, it was 2 cards back when they had the long NBA cards. John Havlicek, Dave Cowens. I mean, I still remember the pictures. It was Cowens going up for a rebound, I think, over Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he was with the Bucks. So those were my guys. Those were my cards. I think I even had a Michael Ray Richardson card. How's that for a name from the past? So collecting has come a long way since then. But now there's a new way to buy, sell, and trade in rip packs. Don't you just love to say that? Rip packs. It's called Arena Club. Arena Club has taken rip packs to another level. Introducing slab packs from arenaclub.com, the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. So, you're opening up that Arena Club slab pack, you'll feel like a kid again. All right. And then you get a display of available cards, hit rates, and grading. Arena Club is the marketplace for card collecting, buying, trading, selling, and displaying. So whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is an all-in-one trading card platform to have you check out. I mean, it's a platform, folks. Let's get with it. It's the digital age. Buying, no more shipping delays or cards lost in transit. Arena Club uses blockchain technology to deliver your card immediately. Buy with confidence, knowing every card on Arena Club is guaranteed authentic. The Arena Club grading process combines AI and human grading. It's accurate, fast, and transparent with a full grade rationale provided and explanation of how your card was scored. Make offers, send trades, and interact. Create your own personal showroom and start building your collection today. Right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase by going to arenaclub.com/hoops. That's arenaclub.com/hoops for 10% off your first purchase. Bob, I will let you start about the passing of the logo, Gary West.
Well, it's interesting. The story, we're learning the story of the logo, and the man who did, in fact, come up with the logo and do it said he can't specifically say that it was Jerry West. He used a picture of Jerry West. So, of course, it was Jerry West. I don't know. Anyway, Jerry West, and Jerry was always a little uncomfortable with that one, by the way. But for some reason, because that's the guy he was. Jerry West was basketball royalty, complete basketball royalty, a part of our basketball consciousness for over since he was at West Virginia, losing the championship game in 1959 on a tip-in at the buzzer by Darryl Imhoff. That's how, and that set the tone for his 60s frustration of losing 6 finals to the Boston Celtics. Jerry West, in my opinion, and I think it was shared by anybody who's been around, was the most revered opponent in Boston Celtic history. The one guy that Johnny Most had nothing bad to say about, that did not wear a green and white uniform. Gentleman Jerry. And I think people picked up on that around here too. He played hard, he played fair. You couldn't hate him. I was terrified of him as an opponent. Every time the ball was in his hands. And, then when you get to know him, you find out what a complex person he was. Oh, my God. His autobiography in 2011 is one of the darkest autobiographies of any celebrity that you'll ever read. He was an eternally tortured person. Didn't enjoy his life, didn't enjoy his celebrity the way he should. He just couldn't. You realize that when he was the general manager of the Lakers during the heyday with the Showtime team that he put together, for the most part, that he couldn't watch the games, that he would drive around in his car in L.A. listening to Chick Hearn, and then get back to the office, and because he just couldn't bring himself to. He was so tense. Then part B is he would never come back to Boston all those years, and I among others would just kid him and say, Jerry, you would be so gratified to come back and find out how well you'd be treated in Boston, how well respected you are, but he never did it. Never did it. It was just part of his package. His DNA was very, very weird in that sense. But his contribution to basketball, as a player, a coach, better coach than I remembered. I was wrong. I didn't think he was as good a coach as he was, but he really wasn't cut out for coaching. He was one of those superstars that had an impatience with the lesser mortals. You know what I mean? One of those guys. But a brilliant general manager. Obviously, his eye for talent was, and his ability to attract people to come to the Lakers. And then what he did with Memphis was one of the great chapters of his history, and giving them an identity. And bringing Hubie Brown out of retirement and putting together a competitive team. And then, of course, he was a consultant with the Warriors in those glory years and is now ending up with the Clippers. But his contribution is enormous, and to basketball.
Give me your favorite. Hey, Bob, give me your favorite Jerry West story. What's your favorite Jerry West story?
And I wouldn't tell this story while the person of the second part was alive, because it wasn't, I was in LA for whatever reason, I don't recall. The Celtics, I was on the road, but I went to the game. The Celtics weren't playing them. They were playing, I don't know who they were playing, doesn't matter. So after the game, I have a one-on-one in the corridor outside the locker room at the Fabulous Forum. And Lou Hudson was on the team. He was in his last, stretch. His days were over. And he's playing out the string with the Lakers. And Jerry West says to me, Lou Hudson, he said, if he were a horse, I'd have to take him out and shoot him. And now, I wouldn't tell that while Lou Hudson was alive, but I'm telling it now. That's my favorite. That's my little moment of of individual Jerry West remembrance. Okay, but he was always accessible to us as in the media. He was a return phone call kind of guy. And, you know, and of course, insightful was all hell. Look at the tributes he's getting from the likes of Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and how much they respected and revered him. Michael, who didn't play for him. Magic, of course, who was, you know, he did, of course.
Sure.
I mean, but you're going to get nothing but tributes. John Havlicek loved him. He told him he loved him after he lost that game in '69. And they told him right on the court that you deserve to win. I'm sorry we beat you. You know, I'm glad we won, but I'm sorry we beat you. And let's talk about '69. Game 1. 53 points to set it up, to get them off to a start. He averaged 37 a game for the final 7-game series. And in game 7, which they lost, as you know, by 2 points, he had a triple-double that started off with 43 points. In 1965, when you know, they were outmanned by the height of glory Celtics and Russell, they gave him a 5-game series in which he averaged 40 points a game against the Boston Celtics. That's so for people who, the youngins that don't know, never saw him, we're talking about an offensive machine. In
2 titles? Did he win 2 titles?
Just one, 72, as a player.
As a player.
1972, he was a part of that team that won the 33 straight games, won the then record 69 games. And he and Gerald Goodwin each averaged 25 points a game as guards, which you'll never see that again. And he played 14 years and averaged over 20 points. All 13 out of 14. The only one he didn't was his rookie year in 60-61. He averaged 17.6 points a game. He went out, though, scoring 20 points a game, something that I don't know how many people, but I only know 2 other off the top of my head who did that as going out. And their names were first identifiable by their first names being Michael and Larry. And they averaged 20 points a game in their final season as well. But not many people had done that. It was the first a great defensive player. His assist guy. He was just a fantastic player, absolutely. And goes hard-nosed, literally broke his nose reported 9 times. I saw a quick quote from him in which he said, because he broke his nose 9 times, he said his wife married 9 different people. So there'll be no end to the tributes to Jerry West, and they're all justified.
Bob, great stuff as always. Jeff, thank you very much. Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tanguay along for the ride. Pod right here on CLNS Media, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks.